This is franchising, so you've got to have grit. I mean, you've got to be willing to get in there and build that business. And so that's what we look for in our owners: somebody that wants to come in, build a business, build something that could be a legacy for the family, for their family as well, and continue to grow from there.
Welcome to Francoach's Franchising 101 podcast series. Here we talk about all things franchising. What is it all about? Is it for you? How do you find the best one to own? And so much more. Now your host, Tim Parmeter.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Francoach's Franchising 101 podcast series. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of Francoach and your podcast host. Today, we have a guest with us, and we're excited to learn about a new franchise partner that we've not talked about and just really learn all about their amazing opportunities. So we're excited to have a guest and again, learn from another franchise opportunity. But before we dive into all of that, let's, of course, first tell everybody who we are. Francoach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals who are interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with well over 500 of the top franchisors in the country, spanning nearly 60 industries. Our goal is to help clients find the absolute best franchise for them to own. And our goal of the Franchising 101 podcast series is to help educate people on all aspects of franchise ownership. All right, so that's us. Now let's get to the good stuff and our special guest. Joining us today is the Senior Vice President of Franchise Development for Bright Star Care, Mr. Pete First. Pete, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No, it's all our pleasure. And I hope you're ready, brother. We got a bunch of questions for you. So when we definitely want to hear all about Bright Star and the business model and all the fantastic differentiators. But when we have our franchise guests on, I'd like to just, again, go to the basics. We're Franchising 101. Let's start with the 101. Who is, I guess, kind of maybe Bright Star as a business for the consumer? What are the services that you provide, and talk a little about the customer? I guess if you were just kind of giving us an ad to get a new customer, what would that look like for everyone?
Yeah, so Bright Star Care has been providing in-home care for probably going on 20 years now. So we've got about 360 locations now around the U.S., and that encompasses a little over 200 franchise owners. But we provide everything from companion care to kid care to skilled care, so we can keep mom and dad in the home a little bit longer. We have national accounts that we work with. We're really able to cover the full gamut, and a big portion of our business today is starting to grow into that B2B side with staffing and working with some national accounts. So anything that mom or dad may need in the home, we're able to provide that for them.
Awesome. And my cheesy joke on that industry is that it is a booming industry and not going anywhere anytime soon. What's I think the last time I looked at this, it's something like 10,000 people a day turn 65. Is that kind of in the ballpark still?
That's exactly right. It just continues to grow, and you're right. It's not going anywhere. And with the just the timing on that, it's the runway for this is wind's at our backs for this type of a concept, because that demographic is just going to continue to rise, and more families will have the need to be able to provide those services in the home. And that's really where this business is going. People want to stay home longer. If there's anything that the pandemic showed us, is that staying home is a great place, and brands like ours and others in this industry are well positioned to be able to provide that.
Yeah, it just the ability to stay home versus, grandma would have to really have pissed us off to want to send her to a home, right? If we can keep them there. And I think the other thing that comes up with this industry too is we're much more spread out from our families than maybe we were. Like, my parents, I'm 52, right? And we've been dealing with this with my family, and I'm 2,000 miles away from my parents. So being able to find a service like Bright Star to come into their home, so I know that they're safe, they're taken care of, and they still have the comforts of their home, right? It's just it's something that's just going to continue to grow and grow. So You mentioned the size, right? You've got well over 300 locations around the country and been around for a long time. Give us a little maybe kind of insight as to how Brightstar came around and kind of the story behind that.
Sure. So Shelley Sun is our founder, and people in the franchising industry obviously know Shelley from the growth of this business, from being the chairwoman of the IFA. So very active in franchising and very active on Capitol Hill on the political side as well for advocates for franchise businesses in general and particularly our industry. So definitely a long history in franchising there. So Shelley was a franchisee before she was a franchisor. So she was in hotels and at the time realized that she had a business that she was just starting up that was in home care, and she realized after going through franchise training in the hotel industry, she realized this is a brand, this is something that she could franchise. And so that's where this was started, and it's just continued to grow since then. So the roots came from a person who's just super passionate about the industry, passionate about providing the best and highest standard of care, and then had some franchise background and realized that there was an opportunity here to take this, provide this service all across the country.
Awesome. And so let's talk a little bit about the actual business model. And first up, from an owner perspective, I think sometimes there's a misconception, no matter what the industry, that the owner, number one, must have, years and years and years of industry experience because they get that beat into their head in the corporate world, right? And then number two is that they're the one in there taking care of grandma. Talk to us a little bit about the owner life and kind of that background piece, because that's a pretty much a rarity for you guys that they're coming in with healthcare experience. So what's kind of that day in the life for an owner? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we do not require a medical or healthcare background. We have, now that being said, we do have some hospital administrators that have taken over large agencies and are, have grown to some, large scale in revenue in that. But for the most part, we're looking for folks that are coming from corporate America. They were coming from the business world. Some of our strongest owners have a great background in managing teams, because a big part of what we're doing here is, we're working with caregivers, and we're working with our internal staff. So it's, a typical day in the life is managing the office and managing the team and building the culture for what they're looking to develop with their business and their community. So it's definitely not, it's busy for sure. And it's a commitment, because this is a full-time, not an absentee type of a business. And the reason that it is for us is because we're not only doing the home care, but we're also, as I mentioned earlier, we've got, the multiple revenue streams, and you've got multiple different businesses all underneath one Brightstar Care umbrella, which is pretty unique out there. So having that business background, being able to manage teams, multitask, this is franchising. So you've got to have grit. I mean, you've got to be willing to get in there and build that business. And so that's what we look for in our owners, somebody that wants to come in, build a business, build something that could be a legacy for the family, for their family as well, and continue to grow from there.
Excellent. What's the staff look like? We definitely want to talk about the caregivers. Before we get to the caregivers, right? It's not just the owner's not sitting in there at their kitchen table running this business. So who are they kind of starting with, and how does that grow internally kind of in that office setting?
Right. So they have an office structure. So they are definitely in a commercial space as far as office building goes, but they'll have a director of nursing that will handle the medical side of things. Typically, they'll have an office manager that handles scheduling, and as they grow, they'll have a dedicated person that'll handle scheduling. The salesperson role has kind of changed, due to the pandemic, because traditionally our salespeople would be out in the field. They'd be visiting hospitals, they'd be visiting with discharge planners, and really getting out and hitting the street. Well, that really changed because we couldn't get in anywhere. So that salesperson now has evolved a little bit to being both a salesperson in the traditional sense, now that things are starting to open back up again, but also somebody that's real good with working national accounts and outreach to national accounts, either via the phone or being active on social media. We're really aggressive with that, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you're, several hundred miles or 1,000 miles away from your family. That we hear that a lot, and with our active, pay-per-click advertising and the social media that we have, and the website that we have for our franchisees, we do get inquiries all across the country and help put those loved ones and provide them with care, even though that their children or whoever's making that decision aren't in the same city. So
Yeah,
great opportunities as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about the revenue streams, because they're, again, key differentiator for Brightstar is this, right? Most everybody in this industry is doing the non-medical, and for good reason, because there's so much of it out there, and you can grow a nice business with that. But talk about some of those additional things that let's go into that a little bit more, so people get an understanding of how big of a business you can really be able to grow and expand with Brightstar.
Sure. One of the things that Shelley decided to do early on was ensure that we were Joint Commission accredited. So what that is, it's the highest accreditation you can get, and it's similar to it's the same as what the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, some of the top hospitals in the world, that the same accreditation they have. So all of our franchisees have that, which provides them with a leg up, just in general, with your discharge planners who are very familiar with that. And then you have that also takes us into skilled care. So we're able to provide additional medical type services in the home. And I'm sure you've heard hospital in the home and some discussions on that topic. We're really at the forefront of that. So we're able to provide things, like infusions and other types of medical type procedures and services in the home, where it's nice and safe, and mom and dad don't have to be transported, and it's just an easier way to go. So that's an area of significant growth. And as we talk to people, we talk to a lot of people that have independent agencies and not affiliated with a franchise. And one of the things that they're most interested in is being able to grow that skilled business, because it is something that will continue on. And as things evolve, as more and more families want to stay home longer, that's a huge opportunity. So that's that portion of it. And then we provide staffing. So, the staffing business for some is monstrous. I mean, it could be it's its own alone business. During COVID, we were able to take advantage of opportunities, and we were lucky enough and honored to participate in some of the vaccine trials. So we were able to, our franchisees were very active with that. COVID testing was a huge part of the business that we were able to provide to keep businesses open and keep our essential services running. We provided a lot of testing around the country for that, and that continues today. And it's also starting to kick back in with as schools start to go back. So some of the colleges and some of the high schools and other places, they'll have the need for testing as well. And we already have accounts set up for that, to provide that. So lots of different opportunities, and there's different ways to grow this business. You tend to find a niche that you're in, but know that you have these other areas that you can build upon. You can almost set up, have a separate salesperson for national accounts and somebody else that's running the day-to-day home care business, and it has the opportunity to scale. And we have franchisees that have really taken advantage of that.
Essentially, you've got the ability to be whatever somebody needs. Like you're their go-to for it.
We're there, yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So, which is amazing.
Yeah. So and it shows in the numbers too. So if you look at our system-wide sales, we're up on a per location basis. We're up over 2 million. So revenue is there. National accounts provides a solid portion of that as you start to grow and scale the business. Territory wise, we've got open territories available, and our population base for our territories is in that 250 to 300,000 range. So tend to be a little bit larger than some of the competitors out there, but we also want to be able to provide more services along with the additional revenue streams to more folks. So we just feel like a little bit larger territory gives our franchisees a great foundation to build from.
And I think this is an industry. There's a few out there, but this is one from our standpoint. We'll pretty consistently get somebody saying, "Well, geez, there's a lot of competition." Well, geez, no kidding, because there's a lot of there's a lot of old people, and there's a lot of competition for cheeseburgers too. But there's how many different things out there, right? But the thing to know, right? You've got a territory 250,000 plus. I would just say kind of industry wide that usually is at least 20,000 seniors. And I don't know how much you're comfortable speaking with those. So if nothing else, I can give like industry overview. But a lot of times you can get 40 to 50 clients and be well over $1 million in revenue. So you need a minuscule, like 0.1% of your population, your demographic, basically, to have $1 million business. So you're talking about even giving larger kind of chunks of area for your owners, which again would throw in the different revenue streams, makes it easy for them to grow huge businesses, which is fantastic.
Yeah, there's definitely opportunity there. And part of that too goes back to our national accounts. We have a centralized intake. So if a national account calls, we've got kind of like one number that they can call. And then we're able to send that referral out to the neighboring the franchise who's ever in that territory. If they can't take it, it goes to the neighbor. And the goal with us is to get a response very quickly so we can keep that business within Brightstar. So because it may have been a skilled case that a franchisee may have been newer and they were not ready to do skilled yet, but we want to make sure that we have that account handled. So that's part of the way that we lay out our territories too, is to have them contiguous with each other, so we have the ability to share that business with those who are ready to take it.
Okay. Are you able to kind of share with us maybe an example or two of a national account, what that would look like?
Yeah, it could be an insurance company. It could be, for example, we're working with a large, I can't give names, but we're working with a large grocery chain on the West Coast to do testing and to provide vaccinations. So, that's an opportunity. We are working with some of the larger pharmacies as well. So these are significant national accounts. The Veterans Administration, the VA, is a big part of our growth for 2021 and into 2022. A lot of opportunity there. In fact, we brought in a new salesperson to handle that portion of our national accounts, and that's something to note too. Is from the home office perspective, and we have a team of folks working on national accounts in various specialties. So we brought somebody in with a background, a military background, and what that does is it allows us and him to navigate the waters of dealing with the VA and dealing with other accounts that work with the military. It's been a great resource to this point. We can just see that part of the business continue to grow.
So for a Brightstar owner, let's say I'm a Brightstar owner and I'm getting ready to open up my new office. There's a good chance I'm going to already have some business, or we'll get some very quickly just from the national accounts, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is definitely. And it just continues to grow, because there's nothing better for a national account to have one company to call, because that can handle it, versus them having to call through 200 different offices to see who's the right one. We have one phone number, they call that, and we're able to get them connected with the location across the country that they need. So it simplifies things on their end. And that's the same thing with our business having, being able to provide both the non-medical and the skilled care, is that for a discharge planner at a hospital, or for any of our referral sources, they know that Brightstar can take care of it. So, and they can handle the needs of that client, and they can do that with one call versus having to kind of search for others that may be able to handle it.
Gotcha. So you get the caregivers, and there's going to be a really wide range of kind of what their backgrounds could potentially look like, but maybe give us just kind of a quick overview on, the caregivers and kind of that process of being able to kind of find them and retain them.
Yeah, recruiting and retention obviously is the hot topic in this industry in general. I mean, that is a challenge that I think everybody has, and the way that our most successful franchisees look at it is they have two businesses that they run. They run their home care business and their day-to-day business with the Bright Star Care franchise, but then the other business that they run is working with their caregivers, because you need to nurture the caregiving team. You need to, hire right, but then retain them as well. So we have several different programs that we work on a recruiting basis. We've got a recruiting team as well internally, that's their sole focus. So one of the things that we did during the pandemic is that we switched our advertising to go from consumer facing to trying to find more business to actually looking for caregivers online and on television ads. So our messaging shifted to focus on, join the best and the brightest. And that's what we're looking for with our caregiving team. So, it's things like that. We have a Nurse of the Year award and Caregiver of the Year award that we the franchisees nominate their people for and their team members for, and then we have a big to do at the national conference, and it's a great reward for them for the work that they do, and that's a video, several videos that are utilized via social media, TV ads, to promote that as well. So we want to be the employer of choice. The successful franchisees have great relationships and just understand how to build the caregiving team, and the director of nursing plays a big part of that as well. Being the leader and being able to provide the shifts that the team needs and that the caregivers want. And our technology platform actually helps that too, because they can. They're able to electronically tell us what their availability is and how we can incorporate that into their schedule, how many hours that they would like. So technology-wise, we're doing a lot of things to make things that much easier for the caregiver as well.
Nice. Well, and I think it's one of the very, very few industries, maybe only one, where it's a good chance you're going to have more caregivers on your roster as staff than clients. Because you got to build that bench, but that's where I think it's cool with you guys. You've got that staffing component too. So you may have your own clients, but you may work with other agencies that need, or the actual in-person facilities. You become kind of their staffing arm as well. Again, back to those additional revenue streams.
Yeah, we did that a lot and provide those services a lot to assisted living and to nursing homes and folks that need staff that way too. It's being able to call us to fill those shifts. It continues to, obviously, great revenue source for our franchisees, but it's another easy call and easy peace of mind to fill the shift for the community or facility itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other piece of this, you talked about, just kind of high level. And anytime we talk money, investment revenues, I always want to kind of give the disclaimer to people, right? The franchisors can't say, oh my gosh, you're going to make X amount of money. We can give reports of what the costs and the fees, a range for a total investment would be, all things listed in the franchise disclosure document. We can kind of report how much revenue people own. Part of our process with clients, we help them kind of figure all of that out, right? But you mentioned just a little over $2 million on your average for kind of a mature location. What's the investment look like to get started with something like this that could be a multi-million-dollar business?
Yeah, so you'll be in that low end 150 on up. We tell franchisees and candidates to plan on about 300,000. That gives you your working capital going into the next year as well. So just to have some cushion there is always a good thing. But in that 100 to 200 range is handles almost all of the startup and enough to get you going for sure. So it's when you look at we've always been listed as one of the top low investment brands out there. So we've got the ability to come in with very little investment relative to, say, doing something that's bricks and mortar, or restaurant or something along those lines, and have the opportunity to build a significant business.
And I think it's one thing that's maybe a little people don't realize when they first start looking at franchises. You think, well, I've got to invest more to make more, but it's usually a kind of an inverse relationship to that, right? You could have, your favorite little sandwich shop might be a $500,000 total investment that's going to make $500,000-$600,000 a year in revenue. Or we can spend, I don't know, a fraction of that for a Bright Star and have 4, 5, 6 times the revenue potential. So it's crazy with that. What an amazing opportunity you can have with something that doesn't require much space, much overhead. And then in this case, not that a good sandwich doesn't make us happy, because I'm hungry for lunch right now, so a sandwich should make me happy. But this is a feel good, make a huge difference in the community type of business that, oh, by the way, you can make a heck of a lot of money at. So fantastic. Pete, what else maybe would you like us to know that we haven't really talked about yet?
Well, I think we have covered a lot of ground, I think, as well. So, one of the things that we probably didn't really touch on, but should, is just we do have our own proprietary technology. So that's something that we have available to our franchisees. It's a system that we've built internally and support internally. So that's something that's different than others out there, and is a big potential differentiator for us. It helps simplify the business immensely. So a new franchise owner coming in doesn't have to worry about the technology side. And then I think another key point, and this will be the last one, is that Shelley, as our CEO and founder, she's still actively involved in the business. So there are many home healthcare companies out there that have expanded to private equity or sold to private equity. And because we're still founder-led, and we're one of only 2 left, I think, 2 or 3, because we're still founder-led, that allows us to make decisions that are more longer term. So when it comes to a technology decision, or comes to a way to continue to grow the business for our franchisees and make decisions that are going to benefit franchisees long term, we just have a longer runway than a brand who may be owned by private equity that's looking at a 3 to 5 year flip. So a couple of key points, just kind of on a macro scale.
Yeah, well, it's different in that situation, right? This is still her baby, so she's going to make sure everybody's got everything that they need to be successful, which is fantastic. Pete, thanks so much, man, for joining us. This has been fantastic, and we definitely enjoyed having you and learning a little bit about Bright Star.
Sounds awesome. Thanks a lot, Tim.
And thank everyone else for joining us for another episode of the Franchising 101 podcast series. I hope this will help enlighten those interested in franchise ownership to some of the amazing possibilities that are out there. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe and follow us wherever you listen to your podcast, YouTube, and all of your social media. Also, check out our Franchising 101 podcast website, which is literally franchising101podcast.net. And if you'd like to learn more about potentially becoming a franchise owner, click the link in your podcast window or find us online. There's never any fee for our service, so we encourage you to take that first step today to help create your better tomorrow. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe, and we look forward to connecting very soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Francoach's Franchising 101 podcast, where our ultimate goal is to help educate you on all things franchising so you can create your better tomorrow.